The Hunter's Eye. The Veiltheory observation cruiser Serenova had mapped 400 civilizations. It had watched silicon-based lifeforms build cathedrals of crystal on nitrogen worlds. It had observed aquatic empires wage wars with sound. In 12,000 years of silent reconnaissance, the Veiltheory had never once felt the cold particular dread that now gripped Commander Sirith as she stared at her sensor array. The human warship had appeared without warning, dropping out of faster-than-light travel with a brutal, graceless explosion of energy that made Veiltheory engineers wince. No elegance. No ceremony. Just sudden, violent arrival. "Begin passive scan," Sirith ordered, her 4 fingers tightening around her command staff. "Full spectrum. They haven't detected us." The Serenova was cloaked, invisible to every form of detection the Veiltheory knew. They would watch. They would learn. That was the Veiltheory way. They had no idea what they were about to learn. What the scanners found. The first readings came back routine. Carbon-based lifeforms. Bilateral symmetry. Oxygen breathing. Warm-blooded. The Veiltheory had cataloged thousands of species matching this profile. Fragile, soft creatures who rarely survive contact with the galaxy's harsher realities. Then the deeper scans returned. Analyst Vor pressed 3 of his hands flat against his console, steadying himself. "Commander, their hull." The warship, designated INS Sovereign Wrath by its own markings, was armored in layered composites of titanium, ceramic, and something the scanners couldn't immediately identify. Vor ran the analysis twice. 3 times. "They've woven depleted uranium into their hull plating," he said quietly, "as armor. They mine radioactive material that poisons their own biology, and they wrap themselves in it." A long silence fell over the bridge. "Continue," Sirith said, her voice careful. Deeper horrors. The weapons inventory took 11 minutes to fully catalog. 11 minutes that aged every officer on the Serenova's bridge considerably. Railguns capable of accelerating projectiles to 3% the speed of light. Missile systems carrying warheads that split into independently guided submunitions mid-flight. Point defense cannons that fired 10,000 rounds per minute. And deep in the ship's lower decks, shielded, humming, patient. 3 nuclear warheads, each capable of sterilizing a continent. "They carry planet killers," whispered Vor, "on a patrol vessel." But it was the biological skin that broke something in the room. The humans, 840 of them, registered extraordinary levels of cortisol, adrenaline, and other stress hormones. Their cardiovascular systems ran perpetually elevated. Their neural patterns showed chronic threat response activation. "They are," Vor searched for the right word, "afraid. Almost constantly." "Yes," said Sirith slowly. "Then why?" He gestured at the weapons readout. "Why do they keep going?" The history files. Sirith ordered a cultural data pool, cross-referencing what fragments the Veiltheory had collected from human radio and light transmissions over the past century. What came back made her sit down for the first time in her command career. Humans had been at war with themselves for the entirety of their recorded history. Thousands of conflicts. They had invented chemical weapons, biological weapons, nuclear weapons, each new era bringing instruments of greater destruction. They had burned their own cities, poisoned their own rivers, driven thousands of their own species to extinction. And yet, they had survived, rebuilt, reached the stars. "They never stopped," Vor said, reading alongside her, his voice hollow. "Every time they destroyed something, they just built it again. Larger." Sirith stared at the image of the INS Sovereign Wrath on her display. Scarred hull, guns tracking slowly across the starfield like the eyes of something that had never learned to stop watching for threats. They aren't violent because they are strong, she said softly. They are strong because they have always been in danger. From each other. From everything. She paused. They evolved their ferocity the way other species evolved eyes. The decision. The Veil Theory High Council convened within the hour via quantum link. Cirith presented every scan, every file, every data point. The Council, beings who had guided galactic affairs for millennia with cool, measured confidence, listened in complete silence. When she finished, Elder Maven spoke first. Can they detect us if we decloak? Yes, said Cirith. Then we do not decloak. Maven's ancient eyes were unreadable. We have spent 12,000 years deciding which civilizations are ready for contact. He looked at the warship on screen. 800 frightened, ferocious, indestructible humans hurtling through space wrapped in radioactive armor and nuclear fire. We are not ready for them. The Serenova slipped silently back into the dark, and the INS Sovereign Wrath sailed on. Crew unaware, weapons gleaming, carrying the quiet, terrible fire of a species that had survived everything the universe had ever thrown at them. So far.